Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome around the globe to Kangen Water Radio, featuring the Kangen Water Health and Information International Call, where we consider, clarify, and often correct the conventional wisdom around Kangen water technology, the different machines, the science behind Kangen water types, uses, and benefits, the testing process, the maintenance and cleaning of the machines, and much, much more. We also explore a plethora of other topics as we teach, promote, and discuss the three-pronged approach to health and wellness: hydration, detoxification, and complete macro and micro nutrition. I'm retired family physician, Dr. Lisa Battle Singletary, your virtual keto coach, your trusted health navigator, and I will be joined, excuse me, by my co-host and fearless leader, Mr. Terrence Hope, a Magic 6A distributor extraordinaire, and together we bring you the best of both worlds. Welcome, welcome everyone. Let's see, we got a birthday guy on the call. So glad, Dale, that you're with us. I hope everyone wished you a happy, happy, happy birthday. You can celebrate all month long, as far as I'm concerned. We just maybe are over our long weekend hangovers, as it were, not necessarily from alcohol, but from activity, heat, whatever we're experiencing, and we're back in the groove. So today, this is call number 405. Can you believe it? And we're talking about types of hair loss. Okay. So, and what I want to do is give you a little understanding of the structure of hair. Not a deep dive, but just to give you an idea of why some of these things happen and why the three-pronged approach is such a benefit to hair health. So let us go to the PowerPoint. Let's see. So hopefully you can see that. Sharing my screen. So we're going to talk some health strategies for hair loss. And this was a request by one of our listeners. And hopefully she'll be on today. And I don't know why that popped back, but we will keep going. So this is a model of skin. This is just a simple plastic model. And honestly, what most people think of skin is just this one little top layer up here, the epidermis. And what most people think of hair is way up here at the top, what's popping out from the surface of the skin. But as you could see, a hair follicle goes way deeper into the skin than a lot of people. Well, first of all, the skin goes way deeper into the skin than a lot of people think, but the hair follicle itself goes deeper. And I've got another, this is a simplified drawing of what the skin innervation is, the sensory innervation. And I like this slide because, we learn that there are different types of sensory, there are different ways that we feel. That's it. So there's light touch. You can feel deeper touch, vibrations, all of these different sensations, even the position, of your skin or of your body part at the time. All of these sensations come from completely distinct types of nerve endings. And as you can see, there are some nerve endings right at the bottom of your hair follicle. And so you can feel when your skin or when your hair is touched or pulled, or and also I love this illustration here because it shows the erector pili muscle. And this muscle right here, it's a tiny, tiny muscle. Maybe it's definitely one of the tiniest muscles in the body. The tiniest one might be in the ear. But this muscle, these erector pili muscles, this is why people get goosebumps, because with certain stimulation, this muscle will contract and cause the hair follicle to shift, and that causes goosebumps. All right, this is just a little more complete drawing of what's happening with the skin. And so now we don't have just the nerves, we also have there's the erector pili muscle. Here's a hair follicle that's cut in half, a hair follicle that's cut in half all the way along the hair shaft. But we can see the blood supply, we can see glands. So that's why some people have oilier hair. And this is the outside of the hair follicle. Again, deep in the structure of the skin. Anyone who's plucked an eyebrow knows that it's deep and that there's a pain, there are pain receptors attached. But there's also a blood supply that has to go into the follicle because this is where the hair is produced. All right, now let's get a little bit closer. And if we're looking at one hair shaft, you can see whether you cut it on a transverse section, which, see this light blue square here? That's where we've cut this shaft, and that's where we're showing this cross section. And there are multiple layers to the hair shaft. And you might have heard people talk about the cuticle of the hair and lifting the cuticle, and especially if you're talking about certain chemicals being used to change the texture of the hair. Well, the cuticle is the purplish layer that's here. And in order for, let's say, color to get into the cortex of the hair and into the shaft, it has to get through this cuticle. And the cuticle can be very much damaged in application of chemicals, application of too much pressure, a lot of things that can happen, back combing, a lot of things can affect that cuticle. All right, so so that's a little bit about what hair looks like, but how does it grow, or what goes wrong? And I think that's what people really want to know. What can you do about it? How can the three-pronged approach help? Well, I don't know if I don't know if you could appreciate how tiny those blood vessels and nerves were, but just imagine if your blood flow is cut off, even diminished a little, or if your nerves are cut off, that's gonna block the flow that's needed for the health of the hair follicle. And how many hair follicles do you have? A lot of them. And I have a little article. Wait, I gotta figure out. There we go, screen share. Okay, where are my articles? Okay, so I'm not going to go through all these articles because there's a lot of information. There's so much study done on hair, hair cycles, hair growth, hair health, and what we're going to look at today, hair loss. And this is not just an issue of the hair, also it's an issue of the scalp and the health of the scalp. So there's a lot to this topic, and I'm not going to be able to cover it all today. But I do have some really good articles for you. So the first one goes through the 4 stages of hair growth. And the 4 stages in plain language are the growing phase, the transition phase, the resting phase, and the shedding phase. And I didn't talk about it so much, but there are different types of hair based on how thick the different layers are, etc. But the growing phase is called anagen. The transition phase is called catagen. The resting phase, telogen or telogen, and the shedding phase is exogen. And there are just very subtle differences in what's happening in each of these pictures. But in the exogen, the shedding phase, you can see that the root of the hair follicle is actually leaving the its place in the shaft, and you're gonna see a lot of shedding at that stage. Here's something interesting. Okay, so I'll just read just a couple things. The stages begin with anagen. Anagen is the longest phase. It lasts 3 to 5 years for the hairs on your head. But for some people, a single hair can grow as long as 7 years or more. And that phase differs with the different types of hair. So the anagen, or the growth phase for eyebrow hairs and pubic hairs, is much shorter than the phase for your scalp hairs. All right, transition is the catagen phase. So anagen ends, remember, anagen was years. Catagen only lasts about 10 days or so, but the hair follicle starts to shrink, hair growth slows down. Telogen phase, it's resting. The hair follicle is, and this phase lasts about 3 months. About 10% to 15% of your scalp hairs are resting. So your hair is not growing at that time, but it's not falling out either. And then the last phase, the shedding phase, you lose in the shedding phase about 50 to 100 hairs per day normally. And this phase can last 2 to 5 months for one follicle, because what's happening, new hair is starting to develop as the old hairs fall away. So how do you keep your hair healthy? Good nutrition, right? Reduce stress, absolutely. Proper hair care, easy on the chemicals, easy on the traction. So that was a useful overall article, which I will post with our call resources. Another article that and at the end of this article are some other helpful articles. Healthline does include, for instance, I loved this one, does stress cause hair loss? And so they talk about stress-related hair loss, etc. So that's a very, very good resource. And it gives you a good overview. I was looking, and I was asked about one particular type of hair loss, and not many articles covered this type that covered all the other types. But at NYU, their dermatology department did a really good job on types of hair loss. Now, this article is really in depth. And so again, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I did love the first paragraph. So hair loss, also called alopecia, you might have heard that word, is a disorder caused by an interruption of the body's cycle of hair production. Hair loss can occur anywhere on the body, but most commonly affects the scalp. On average, the scalp has 100,000 hairs. Isn't that amazing? And those 100,000 hairs are cycling through those periods of growing, resting, falling out, and regenerating. So just take a look at the big categories as we scroll down this article. So the first big category, and there are two subcategories. The first big category is androgenetic alopecia. And that is the most common type of hair loss, affecting more than 50 million men and 30 million women. Commonly known as male pattern baldness and female pattern baldness. Hereditary, and when we talk about genetics, we have to think about epigenetics. So you may have a genetic tendency for something, and that tendency may simply be because you and your previous generations live in an area with poor nutrients in the soil. So it can look genetic, but it may or may not be, or the type of diet that you eat, how much gluten you eat, affects how your body can absorb the nutrients that you need. So that may show as a genetic pattern, but it may just be a gluten blockage of the intestines or combined with a nutritional deficiency. Telogen effluvium, another type of hair loss. Anagen effluvium. So those are types of hair loss in the different cycles. Alopecia areata, that's the first one I learned about in medical school. That's an autoimmune condition. Now, again, most, maybe all autoimmune conditions are a result of chronic inflammation and inadequate nutrition, micronutrition. So the three-pronged approach is so super important. Excuse me. Tinea capitis, ringworm. This is a very interesting one. I treat a lot of ringworm in my practicing days. And this is interesting because the ringworm, there are so many creams and ointments and just topical treatments for ringworm, but you saw how deep the hair follicle goes below the surface of the hair. And what the ringworm would do, which is a fungus, is burrow deep into the follicle. So the topic of the shampoos and the creams and all that don't work because the fungus has burrowed down into the hair shaft and can cause secondary infection. This is the category, cicatricial alopecia. It's hard to say. Known as scarring alopecia. This is from inflammation. Now, if you put all of the possible diseases and all of the possible afflictions of the human body into a pot, and you on the front you wrote the name of the disorder, and on the back you wrote the cause of the disorder, guess how many of those disorders are going to have inflammation as the root cause, over 90%. So the scalp is not immune to our bodies being under extreme toxic load, extreme stress, and chronic inflammation. All right. So this particular type of alopecia is broken down into multiple categories, but I will say that this one, the CCCA, was the type of alopecia I was asked about, and that started my research for this call. So central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia may occur as a result of hair products or styling techniques that damage the hair follicles. How does that damage happen? Usually through inflammation. Hair relaxers, blow dryers, curling irons, hair extensions, all those things can cause, and a permanent wave, those chemicals can cause this condition. All right, hair shaft abnormalities, huge category, and hypotrichosis, meaning there's just very little hair growth. Like some people just have sparse hair. Again, very often a nutritional deficiency. So just to bring this home, and I'm looking, and the person that asked me to do this is not on the call, but that's okay. So just to take a final look at this hair structure, right? Imagine, all right, so here's a hair shaft. This is a scanning electron micrograph, okay, done by a scanning electron microscope. So these are hair shafts growing out of the scalp. All right, let's look at the scalp. What are we looking at here? Microscopic dandruff. So your scalp has layers, and the very top layers of hair or of the skin slough off. And so we can see this actually happening under the scanning electron microscope. But what we're looking at here is right at this point where the hair, right here, where the hair shaft is coming out of or poking through the epidermis, which is the top layer of skin. I'm gonna take a look at just the layers just for a second. So let's look at the three main layers of skin. And you've heard these words, but maybe you haven't seen them like you're seeing them today. So here's the epidermis. Epi means on top of or above, and dermis is really the root for skin. So the epidermis is the top layer of the skin. And when we go just below the epidermis, and interesting, let's get back to the epidermis. You see this basal layer, the bottom layer of the epidermis is here. Can you see where I'm drawing my little line following the ridges? The basal layer, and can you see how it's a little bit darker than the cells below? This is where our skin color is. This is where our stem cells are. This is where our skin actually, our epidermis actually grows, and then it pushes the cells up layer by layer by layer by layer by layer until it gets up to the top, and it becomes what we call keratinized. It becomes waterproofed, basically, and it is the protective upper layer of our skin. But I started to say the business layer, but it's all got its own business going on. But where the blood vessels and the nerves are in the dermis. And that is this pink layer. And we can see there are multiple types of blood vessels and capillaries, there are multiple nerves, the erector pili muscles, and lots and lots and lots of connective tissue. And this is why we've been talking about collagen, right? Because the primary supporter or the primary component of this connective tissue is collagen. And then below is the subcutaneous layer. And that is fat, a fatty layer. But look at this, deep down in that subcutaneous layer is a corpuscle that senses vibrations, so sometimes you can get damage to your superficial touch, but you can still feel different sensations, cold, heat, etc., deeper down. Fascinating. Skin is fascinating. So here we go. So hopefully that gives us a little bit of background about the skin, but also a visual of why the three-pronged approach is so important. Toxic buildup in the skin layers is really damaging. And one thing that I actually didn't point out, but that epidermis, the top layer of skin, does not have blood supply, right? Its main job is protection. And what are the cosmetic surgeons or the dermatologists, they work at scraping away the very top layers, those layers that looked like they were sloughing off on the scalp. Well, that happens all over your skin, all over your body. And you take off those top layers and the skin underneath is smoother, right? Because they're holding together more and they're just getting ready to mature into their main function, which is protection. So, but you slough that away. Yes, you got some smoother, younger looking skin, but you also have less protection from the outside world. All right. Stop me, Mr. Hope, because I could keep talking about skin. I could keep talking about this for a long time. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pause here and bring forth my co-host, our fearless leader, Mr. Terrence Hope, an Adjunct 6A distributor extraordinaire. Mr. Hope, are you with us? No, I don't know if you can hear, but I am being bombarded by leaf blowers or something. So I'm going to mute Mr. Hope.
Actually, no, we can't hear it at all. You
must have
you must have a really good sound canceling microphone, because we don't hear a thing.
Thank you.
Even all this time you've been talking, there's like a lot of noise. The lawn guys are out there making a lot of noise.
No, not the whole time, just in the last minute or so.
No, we can't hear that at all. It's perfectly quiet.
Well, we want to hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Singletary. And for all of you who are on the call, this, of course, has been once again amazing on the part of our resident physician, board certified, now retired, but lending her time to letting us know all about the water the health aspects of what goes on with our bodies and various things that we may never have otherwise understood closer. I really particularly enjoyed the information you provided today on hair. Many of you who have maybe seen me on the call know that I may be a little bit desirous of a coif of my own to return, and so of course I was listening, very intently to the information you were providing today, and you know, uh, you know, uh, and I think people will probably have some really good questions regarding this today. Um, the hair follicles, where does this happen? It's interesting that maybe I can let myself peek for a quick second. Why not? Who knows, right? But it's interesting that with all the technology that's out there these days, with all the information that's available to us, with all the science work that is done, um, that there's been no direct answer to, okay, there's hair loss. What is going on? How'd that happen? How can we respond to that? How can we make a difference? Looking closer at what you were showing as far as the capillaries, the blood flow, the root of the hair gives us greater insight. And now perhaps we can begin to take a closer look. Well, what can we do to affect it best? Some months ago, though I've had a Kangen water machine for 11 years now, I didn't know all the different ways you can use it for different purposes. So another distributor shared with me, says, well, what you do is you take the 11.5 and you rinse your hair with that first, because it emulsifies oil. So the idea is to get down to the pores and, loosen whatever might be blocking blood flow. And then you take the strong acid water, the 2.5, and you rinse your hair with that, and that sterilizes surfaces. It's also a wound healer. Yeah. And then to rebalance the pH of the hair and the scalp and the skin, you use the beauty water as your third stage, So do those things in succession, and you should see your hair grow. I was like, really? Okay. So of course I got right to it. 11.5 followed by 2.5 followed by beauty water. Now, I have actually experienced some degree of hair growth. The hair that was on top of my head actually grew longer. There were areas where there was barrenness and no hair at all. And that actually grew a hair or two. Out of the desert came, an oasis of a palm tree of some sort, but one or two, And I thought to myself, wow, if that could do it for one or two, perhaps it could work for many more. So I'm continuing to work at that to see if I get, more progressive assistance with that. Taking my nutrients, I am, and then I want to look closer at what more can be done. I can imagine coupling this water treatment with proper nutrition and taking something like L-arginine, an amino acid, which is known to produce a gas called nitric oxide that causes a dilation or an opening of the blood circulatory system, could be a good combination to do consistently. And that's, of course, coming to me as I'm speaking to you now. But I'll certainly give a talk a little bit on the water as well and how that works. But Dr. Singletary, I do notice there's a person with their hand up. And maybe before I get to say anything, I should let them go ahead and speak. Someone named Just.
Margie. Thank you for joining us today, Margie. Can you unmute yourself? There you go.
Okay.
Welcome to the call.
Thank you. I have a couple of things that really puzzle me. One, I find it very, very fascinating at times when you run across a gentleman that can grow hair on their face like just so thick, and then they don't have hair on the top of their head. Then the other thing that I would like to say is, why does chemotherapy make you lose your hair?
Good questions. Gee, Margie, this is good home run stuff. And Dr. Singletary, if I could share something, I did notice some years ago that I was using some sort of mineral that was said to be excellent for the skin. It was called copper, special kind of copper, liquid copper. Um, and I put it on my head, and I would rub my skin down with it after showers because it was so supposed to be good for my skin. And it actually caused a beard to grow where I actually couldn't grow a beard before. Big, thick, dark, rich. I mean, a full mustache. One of my little nephews asked me, he said, Uncle Terrence, is that a fake? Is that fake? I was like, no, actually, I grew it, and I just don't happen to wear it all because I don't really like a lot of hair on my face, but I do wear a bit of a shadow a lot, most often. And then, of course, it was curious, as Margie has a question, how is it that the hair grew on my face so well, where hair had never grown before, but not on my scalp? So maybe you have some insights for that, Dr. Singletary.
Part of it is hormonal because there's a lot going on the scalp. And so there are different hormones that target hair follicles in different patterns. So that's where we get the male pattern baldness, etc. As far as chemotherapy is it's a poison, right? And it's designed to kill cells that are rapidly multiplying. It attacks their DNA basically, so they can't multiply. It's and will hopefully die out. And the cells that are usually side effects of the chemotherapy, meaning being lost, are cells in the body that are rapidly multiplying. So skin cells, the cells of our gastrointestinal tract, cells that are constantly having a turnover. I showed you, I'll show you one more time, the layer where the skin actually grows. And that is this basal layer here. So all of the layers.
Papillary region?
Say again?
Is where, the epidermis region?
It's the base of the epidermis. It's where the epidermis and the papilla meet. And this is where our skin stem cells are. And the stem cells are the cells that actually divide and make new cells. And they get pushed up layer by layer. So anywhere in the body where your stem cells are actively multiplying, particularly your skin, your hair follicles, your gut, you are going to have, after chemotherapy, loss. So yeah, that's an excellent question. However, the way Mr. Hope has been working with patients with chemotherapy, using the Kangen water to detoxify, so that's the second prong of the three-pronged approach, that getting that those toxins out of the body as quickly as possible allows for more of a balance so that the effect of the chemotherapy takes place as far as killing the cancer cells, but it helps when you detoxify for the normal cells to not have as much of the brunt of the side effects.
Am I still unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
What I find interesting, this occurred many years ago when I was still living in Phoenix, Arizona, and my neighbor had breast cancer, and she was going down to the University of Arizona, I think in Tucson, for her treatment. And she never lost any hair. Well, she's going through a lot of major chemotherapy. But what she told me I thought was really interesting. She said down there at the University of Arizona, when she went in for her chemo, they would pack her head in ice about 45 minutes before her treatment. And then after her treatment, and according to Betsy, most institutions do not do that, and that the temperature in your brain when you get your chemotherapy goes up, and then that's what causes the hair loss. Because people that go in for chemotherapy don't normally get in there and sit there for 45 minutes to have their head packed in ice, then get their treatment, and then another like 45 minutes of ice after the treatment. And that was Betsy, that's what she told me was the reason why she didn't lose any hair.
Well, ice is an anti-inflammatory, so we inflammation being the root cause or the root foundation, that is what the chemicals do. So that is, that's why, that's a great strategy. I'll put it that way. That's a great strategy. Because anything that will decrease the inflammation will decrease the body's response or reaction to the chemotherapy or to any other insult, by the way. And we've had a couple of calls where we talked about positive feedback versus negative feedback systems in the body. And inflammation is one of our positive feedback systems. It's designed to help our bodies heal, but it's also designed to act quickly, and it's designed to start, do its job, and stop. But if inflammation goes unchecked, then it causes problems such as hair loss, such as, you name the itis or the osis or the issue of the body. Chronic inflammation is bad. So being able to do something such as ice to decrease that inflammation response, that makes complete sense to me. Thank you.
Sure, very, very good opening. And then something else that you mentioned, Dr. Singletary, was the chemotherapy's effect on quick replicating cells or fast growing cells, and how it affects the hair follicles, but also affects the lining of the digestive system, I think you said, yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
And so what becomes very important about that is another thing that we do, or that I do when I approach that, is making sure I'm restoring the microbiome, the digestive system. So detoxing with electrolytes, reduced water, of course, hydrating, detoxing, and then re-nourishing the microbiome. Because as I explained to many clients, that gets wiped out by the chemotherapy. And if you do not restore that, your immune system cannot restore properly. Your digestive system could end up with more problems. A person could end up with digestive blockages because the digestive system is simply just bare flesh without the enzymes and healthy bacteria necessary to break the food down and to transfer energy, to make the communications of energy. So it's important to restore that microbiome, to remove the toxicity, and then your body has the best opportunity for recovery in such a situation, even in the presence of a highly toxic chemotherapy. Let's see.
Absolutely. I think Juanita's hand was next.
Sure.
Let's Juanita, welcome to the call. Good morning.
Hi, am I unmuted?
You
Yes.
are.
Sweet, I didn't have to touch a button.
Magic.
Speaking of
Magic.
magic, before I ask my questions and give my comments, I want everyone to know, if you don't know already, we take.
Oh, by the way, that's Juanita, you might need to turn your volume up a little more, come closer to the microphone.
Okay. Okay, somehow I got muted again, but
You're good. We hear you better.
We
Okay.
hear you.
Before I give my comment on this beautiful, beautiful topic, for those of you, we're all family here, I just want to take a moment to share, if no one knows, and I'm sure Margie doesn't mind, but Margie lost her mom a few days ago. Her mom lives in Chicago, and her mother was 99 years old. Lord, that's like 40 years more than I had my mother. So I just
Wow.
kind of want to let folks know that, and um, keep her in your heart and prayers. I talk to her daily, um, and try to support her the best we can. And so anyway, Margie, we love you, and our prayers go out to you each and every day as you um, go through this. You know, the Word of God says that death stings, and it doesn't say how long it stings, you know, and death comes in many, many forms, as we're talking about our hair. So here we are, Juanita's hair. Okay, Juanita's been having massive hair loss. I consider massive hair loss. And I went to my doctor, chiropractor, specializing in chiropractic. And when you were showing those charts, Dr. Lisa, I thought of his office. And his charts have, his office rooms have those charts of our body and our nerves. And my pain is in my, what the proper word, butt. And so there's my sciatic, and it goes down my leg on the side, and he points, you know, how it affects my body. So speaking of the doctor and ice packs, Margie, I'm on camera. I ordered these for the doctor. We're doing a facelift in his office, and he's finally giving me authority with his wife in my caregiving group to help redo his office. So we bought a little mini freezer in 10 of these. Well, 5. These come in a 2-pack. And it's a cold ice pack. And Margie, that's brilliant what you said about the head, because I use a bigger ice pack than this. And I showed him the one that I had. He said, buy me smaller ones than what you have, one of them. So I bought him 10 of these, and we bought a mini freezer that's going to be delivered. And on a side note, Dr. Lisa, we're trying to donate or something his old x-ray machine and processor in the lights, because they're ancient. And I've called the local Chamber of Commerce to see who in the area might use one. And the wonderful gal at the Chamber said, a great source in any city, the Chamber of Commerce. She directed me to a clinic called the Hope, Mr. Hope Clinic. And it's a clinic for the low income. And they give, I think, free medical and dental, and I haven't really checked them out. I've heard of them, and I was homeless at one time, and that's kind of when the words I learned about the clinic opening. So anyway, we got ice packs, and then this box just came. This was recommended by my beautician, hairdresser, and I invited her on the call. Let me see, did she get on? No. But this is called Full Thickening Mousse from Living Proof. And she recommended, when I went through that displacement and was in the motel room, I ended up, as some of you remember, with cranial pinched nerves. And it made my head do funny things. Like I could touch this side fine, but this side, the left side, was tingly, and it felt like grandma putting a rat tooth comb through my hair. So that was all caused from stress. As you were scrolling through those 4, I got to go back and watch this again, because I couldn't write fast enough. but whatever happened to my brain nerves from the stress, it caused my hair to fall out. And I noticed it because I used to be able to, like with the rubber band, I always French braid my hair until I broke the wrist thing. Um, and I was doing a rubber band like 3 times, and it was going in 4 times. And I thought, oh my Lord, what's going on with my head, my hair? So as I reduced my stress, and my wonderful 3 caregivers are extremely vital to my life right now. And one is getting me on gluten-free, and we found some masa to make tortillas, because I said I gotta have tortillas, there's just no way. And then I'm eliminating the stress. There's 7 people living here in the building I'm living in. And the landlord did many shortcuts that were illegal, so this building could be condemned very shortly. So pray for that as well. But one of the gentlemen that lived on the other side of this wall here moved here from Seattle, and he's got a dog. And I was attacked by a dog. And so when this dog is left unattended, I have some mental setbacks. And I'm working through those, because now we call truth, me and him. And now I'm learning to feed the dog. I'm not its best friend or the dog sitter, but he's allowing me to warm up to the dog so that I get back, to normal, whatever that normal is going to be. I'm very much looking forward to it. Oh, hi, Willard. So anyway, my notepad here.
Well, actually, she got muted somehow. I think she must have muted herself.
Nope, I didn't mute. Somehow that's happened twice. Okay, so Dr. Lisa, you said we have an average of 100,000 hairs on our head. Okay, so you have much more, your culture, you and Vernita are of, I use the word black, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't know what the proper word is. But your culture, your hair is going to be thicker and wavier and a little coarser than mine. I need to do a DNA thing, but people told me I'm Hispanic, but I think I'm more Asian than Hispanic. But my hair is very salt and pepper. My mother was like this as well. And my hair grows pretty good. So some people, for example, Mr. Hope, maybe you, Dr. Lisa, have 150,000 hairs. We're talking the average. And you also said something, can you clarify the term epigenetic? Because I may be moving to another part of the world, country. I'm free to move wherever I want. And I think God's maybe calling me to maybe go travel a little bit more. So when you say epigenetic, I'm thinking about Colorado in the soil, and I got to check all that out before I, maybe go on a little visit. But did I understand you to say epigenetic is the culture, the soil in where we live?
The environment.
The whole environment.
Yeah, because the food you're in contact with, the minerals in the soil, whatever food are in that culture is what people are taking in. So a lot of times people will overlook the epigenetics, which is the environmental factors that go along with what people are like. And one can say, well, I know 7 brothers and they all have diabetes, therefore it's genetically imposed. Well, have you considered the poison they all drink every day since they were children? All the soda they're having. There were 8 brothers who I actually personally knew. 7 of them loved soda. The 8th one just never liked it. 7 of them became type 2 diabetics. The 8th one never did. And so if you looked at it just from the outside, you know, or the way a lot of science looks at things, you would say, oh, okay, well, that's clearly genetic, and we can take a look closer at their genetic makeup and what caused that, you know, and they've totally bypassed in all their learning and teaching the environmental factors. And if you do not know what the environmental factors are, you cannot determine the genetics of an individual's health, outcomes when it comes to different types of conditions. So I want to make sure that so the environmental will have a factor. I think some of the things that Dr. Singletary talked about in terms of the makeup of the scalp, the skin, the hair, let us know how the skin can kind of slow down in its hair production and even stop in some cases. And where I want to get to is how we can definitively restart it. So I know Dr. Singletary is talking about some things that regards the nutrition, and maybe we could take closer looks at that. When I talked about amino acids, I spoke about L-arginine, and that can certainly be a big help in dilating the circulation system, so blood flow is better. And I'd like to begin to take a look at some other areas where we could approach this much more. Of course, having proper health nutrition is key to everything that we do. Dr. Singletary, did you have something?
So many things. I think the most important thing is epigenetics, because I used the phrase genetic tendencies. So genes do get passed down from generation to generation, but genes are not all expressed all the time. Genes are turned on and turned off based on cellular signals that are given. And the cellular signals are very much influenced by the environment externally as well as internally, primarily the presence or absence of the micronutrients that are needed for the complete expression of that gene. So yeah, Dr. Wallach and Dr. Is it Bruce Lipton are the two fathers of epigenetics.
Oh, yeah,
as
Lipton.
far as what makes your hair curly, coily, bouncy, it's not always the number of hairs, but just if we look at this picture, the hairs come out of the skin or out of the epidermis on an angle. And depending on how acute or how obtuse, how steep the angle is, will determine, if the hair comes out perpendicular, basically, then the hair is going to be straight. If the hair comes out at an angle that's shown on here, there's going to be a curl or a wave to it. And if the angle is even steeper, then it's going to be coily, what they say that the coily, kinky type of hair. So you can have thin hair, but if it comes out coily, it can still feel or appear to be thick. So it's not just, but you're right, the width of each follicle has a lot to do with it, but very much so the angle at which that hair comes out of the from the root as the angle that it comes out of the epidermis.
You got Margie back again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now Vernita had her hand up for a second. So I don't know if Vernita still wants to say anything, but you welcome, but let us.
Wanted to say one more thing to Mr. Hope. With your protocol for your scalp, I've heard to go the opposite, 2.5 first to get anything in the follicle of the head clean, dead, and then the 11.5 to rinse that off, and then the beauty water. So I don't know, maybe kind of dally with that a little bit as well. And go ahead back to Margie or Granita, or Margie, did you want to add something to me?
Well, I'm just kind of curious why during the course of my life that the texture of my hair has changed, and it never was baby fine, but now it is baby fine. I don't know why.
Yeah, things change through your life. That cell signaling, the integrity of your blood vessels, the hormones change. There are a lot of things that go into the hair. And oh, one thing you talked about, Mr. Hope, that I did want to, or it was a highlight when you talked about the essential oils or using oils and rubbing. Just the fact of massaging the scalp increases the blood flow, which helps to decrease the toxic load that's there as well. So, but I do have a what do you call it? I do have an article that I'm going to include with the show notes, and that article is, let me see if I can pull it up. Oh yeah, and they type hair 1A to 4C. Some people say hair type is bogus, but depending on the angle that the hair comes out of the follicle, the hair, the final result of the hair will be curly, wavy, straight, coily, kinky. They've got different names for it. So it's not just the number of hairs, but where is that article? Maybe it's at the end of this. But anyway, I'll share. I'll put it in the show notes. But it is dealing with nutrients that are good for the scalp, and definitely improving the blood flow of those capillaries is a part of that. The vitamins A, B, C, D, E, all of the vitamins, not all of the vitamins, but you start going down the vitamin alphabet, and all of them have a part to play in hair health. So and this is internally, and there are also strategies externally. So there's a lot going on with your hair. So
Hello, Irene. Do you know how to raise your hand, honey?
This is my Maria. Hi.
Maria, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you, ladies?
Yeah. We just had a gluten-free berry cake. I don't know. Yeah, she just arrived here.
Wonderful. Thank you
From
for
where?
joining us today.
Got you.
All righty.
All right.
Yeah, Mr. Hope, you said you were gonna, is that all you're gonna talk about with the water, or?
I think so for today. I think there's a good amount of content here today. But you know what? I'll give a quick summary. I don't know if I have any time, because I know we're out of time already. But just briefly, for those who might be new to the call, those who have never heard us talk about these things, of course, this is the Kangen Water Health and Information Call. And we're here every Wednesday and again on Saturday to talk about subjects of health matters, understanding what Kangen water is, how it works within the body, how to use it properly, and to go over different health topics so we can be thorough in the understanding that you need to be healthy in every way. So maybe I'll just share my screen very quickly, and maybe there's something on that screen. Yeah, there is. And if I can touch the right button, maybe I can get to here. Okay, good. So, we talk about Kangen water, and we talk about nutrition, we talk about the functions of the body, and what do we talk about? Kangen water machines. Our motto is change your water, change your life. This is an antioxidant water. Kangen water is an electrolyzed reduced water. is produced in a process known as electrolysis. And that's a process where electricity and water come in direct contact with each other. So I've been highlighting on many of the calls, electrolyzed reduced water, the process of electrolysis, and this is a process of electricity and water. So just so you can kind of see it, more visually, understanding this is what our water is. These are the Kangen water machines. This is one of the models called the SD501, and it produces 7 different types of water for different purposes: hydrating, detoxification, sanitizing, cleaning, detoxification of foods. And is there a way I can hide this? Maybe not. Can I hide that? Maybe not. So these are our Kangen water machines. This process, the machines have various uses. Like I mentioned, it makes 7 different levels of water. One of them is called, did I keep it? No, got rid of it. Oh well. So 8.5, 9.0, 9.5, different levels of pH on our machines are indications of different detoxification levels. This is the Kangen 8 machine, our 8-plate unit, our number one machine these days. This is the level up SD501. This is the platinum SD501. And so just going at just a quick overview of our machines for those who have never seen anything about it before. So once again, Kangen water is an electrolyzed reduced water. It's produced in an electrolysis process where electricity comes in contact with water. If you ever want to know more about the water, you want to look up the subject matter of electrolyzed reduced water, and there you will find on the health journals a plethora of information that various journals, speaking on the subject matter to understand it better. So what's going on? Electricity is hitting water directly at the molecular level. This is H2O, our water. This is electricity then hitting that water and dividing it into various breakdowns of molecules. Those molecules also, within those molecules are antioxidants, ions, and various substances that will allow for detoxification of the body. This is a process of electrolysis imagery here, hitting water with electricity. There are articles you can go and look at for the science of what Kangen water is as electrolyzed reduced water. Here in this article, it's highlighted as ERW water, and the various aspects of the water when it breaks down in electrolysis. It has the antioxidant effect on the body and the energizing effect inside the system. Overall, what happens when our water goes through the electrolysis process is it ends up with a negative charge or a negative oxidative reduction potential, ORP. If your water is being measured by our ORP meter, which I'll have an image of next time, and it has a negative number, that means it's antioxidant. If you have a liquid substance that's being measured by our ORP meter and it's a positive number, that means it's oxidizing or cannot detox you. It may allow your body to hold on to more toxins in the process. So we want to have a negative charge, and that's what happens with our water. That lets us know that it's antioxidant and it's detoxing, as the molecular breakdown showed in the previous diagrams. Your body is primarily water. So the kind of water you have in your body will dictate the function. If you have an antioxidant water, now you have a substance that's in all the cells in your body that can detox you everywhere. And that will optimize your body's ability to stay at pH balance. Your body can build up with toxicity, just like a fish tank. We've got to purify that, we've got to clean it out, keep it clean so it can function properly. A highly toxic body cannot maintain its health properly. And that's for different reasons. I'll go over that. We have these standard American diets, but we find this in many parts of the world where we're eating things like McDonald's and French fries and food that is probably not even really food for all we know. Fast foods and donuts and, all kind of things that are, really cause more contamination in the body. Toxic buildup. It causes cell dysfunction. That includes soda. People are drinking soda at an alarming rate all over the world, but soda at its high inorganic acid level can cause a pH imbalance just by drinking it. So you can end up with many different problems where the bones are affected, the microbiome is affected, the pH of the body is affected, the stomach acids are affected. And this can break down your body's entire digestive ability to break foods down and to absorb energy properly. These are problems. So once again, your body is mostly water. If you can detox it properly, you can get to the state where your body can function at its best. There are different pH levels in different organs throughout the body. So when someone says your body is alkaline, they are actually very much incorrect. Different organs in the body have different pH levels, some of which are acidic, like the stomach or the small and lower and larger intestines. For women, the reproductive system is more acidic. Even the saliva will range from an acid level to an alkaline level. So we can see that there, even the gastric secretions, 1.0 to 3.5, that's the stomach acids, can have different pH levels, different pH ranges. So in our water, we're not actually alkalizing you, as many people have said. We're actually detoxing you. And once we can eliminate toxicity, your body being self-regulating can maintain the pH of the different organs, so that those organs that have to be healthy and acidic can be so at the acidic range, and those organs that are alkaline and need to stay so to be healthy can stay in that range as well. So you can see this is the pH scale. In the center, pH is the power of hydrogen, or the acidity or non-acidity or alkalinity range of a different organ or substance. So our body can range. In the middle, you've got a green bar. Above that is blue and purple. In the middle, you have a green bar. Once again, below that, you've got yellow and orange. Anything below a 7 on the scale of pH, which actually goes from 0 to 14, 0 to 14 in the scale. So 7 is neutral, as a green indicates a neutral pH. Anything below a 7 on the scale is considered acidic. Anything above the 7 on the scale is considered alkaline. Some of your organs, like I mentioned, are alkaline. Some of your organs are acidic. They must stay in those ranges to be healthy. Many people had touted that the body was unhealthy in an acidic state, and it was healthy in an alkaline state. Well-meaning, but inaccurate, because as we just showed, different organs have different pH levels. So your body's not entirely alkaline. And if you alkalize the entire body, you would actually cause a shift in the pH to make the person sick. The organs that have to be acidic would be too alkaline and dysfunctional. The organs that have to be alkaline would be too alkaline and dysfunctional. So there's specific equilibrium levels, pH, that the different organs have to be at. You can detox, you can stay at those levels and be healthy. There's a whole thing about alkalinity and pH, which I can go over in another talk, understanding that our water is produced in electricity, an electrical process. And if you make water with minerals, that's a chemical process, adding minerals to water, making it alkaline. There was a big marketing, thing that went on with the bottling companies, the water bottling companies some time ago, because Kangen water became known as alkaline water, even though it's really an electrolyzed reduced water. And under the heading of alkaline water, that became a popular term all over the world as a healthy water. The water marketing bottling companies picked up on that trend. They began to produce alkaline water in the stores by actually adding minerals to water. And lo and behold, people don't realize they're creating problems. So you will see advertisements for alkaline water filters. You will see advertisements for different types of alkaline waters, not realizing that all of them are just added alkaline minerals. It's not an electrical process. They're adding minerals to the water to make it alkaline. Why? So they can sound like Kangen water, which is known as alkaline water. People not knowing the difference don't realize they're taking different chemicals into their bodies. Sometimes the minerals that are alkaline going into the alkaline bottles are not beneficial for the body. They may not be bioavailable. They may be more chemical in nature. And while they're alkaline, they can cause calcium buildup in the body. They can cause a pH imbalance. That can cause health problems. So we have to recognize that an alkaline water in a bottle, in a store, by a filter that makes your water alkaline is not healthy. It has to go through an electrical process known as electrolysis in order for you to have a water that's beneficial. I'm going to pause there because there's many things I could talk about in terms of the health and the benefits of the body, but we just need to know certain basic things. That Kangen water is an antioxidant water, and it's a detoxing water. And we want to make sure we're detoxing the body so it can be healthy. So we can perhaps clear the circulation system for it to function better. So you can have a body that is optimum, that it can maintain pH balance, and that you can see better health in your cells, organs, in your hair, skin, and everywhere else. And I'll just pause with that. Just want to give a brief summary about Kangen water so people can have that information on our daily calls. Dr. Singletary?
All right, so Vernita did put her hand up. What do
I
you
did.
have for us, Vernita?
Well, just the best information ever. I couldn't get on immediately. I had another call, but awesome. One thing I saw on the Shark Tank, it's been several months now, where this man made an ice hat, an ice cap, but it was for people that suffered with migraines.
Mm.
And I
Mhm.
thought, wow, when you have some kind of injury, you can use ice and it's soothing, because I'm sure all the inflammation that floods to that area. Because when I had a bump on the head, ice was very soothing. um, that, and then the oh, that sad diet. I'm glad I put my hand down. Would it be possible to get a picture of that slide of the American diet? I want to share it with some teens here in Atlanta. But
Sure.
that was actually the main thing. And then the hair. There was one article somewhere where they said the redheads had more hair follicles than any other hair color. And then coily, like Dr. Lisa, all knowing, absolutely right. When it's coily in its natural state, it appears fuller, but that doesn't mean you have more hair follicles. But it's the great just to have the coils. But let me see now. I think that was it. I'm not I'm not sure of what else I had to say now, because I just finished a cup of coffee and I probably shouldn't have had it. But anyway, it's all good. Thank you so much for everything.
Sure.
Keep up
Thank
the
you.
good work. I love it.
Thank you, Vernita. All right. Okay, I see you want to get back in here, Juanita.
We better get rolling though.
Quickly, please.
Okay, I'm unmuted, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hope, the answer to your question, where is Maria from? And Irene just signed off. She's busy. But Maria is Irene's housekeeper, I'll say, when she lived in New Jersey. And now Irene moved to Delaware. So she's in Delaware, where Irene is right now. But that's that. And just to emphasize on this box, it says that this ice pack helps with injuries, chronic pain, muscle pain, bruises, inflammation, and swelling. And the last thing is the question that I asked for the doctor chiropractor. We're turning that x-ray room into what we're going to call the chill room. And that's where the ice packs are going to go. But we need to remove that x-ray machine. Mr. Hope, do you know of a foreign country that we could ship this to donate, or to, the Chamber said a humanitarian organization.
You want to ship what?
To ship this x-ray machine to, or to donate, or to somewhere.
You can talk to me offline. I can think about what you're saying.
Thank you. That's it.
And Margie.
Yeah, I do have a question about thinking this has gone back years ago. I'm going to see one doctor that said that, oh, I needed to take like samples of my hair so that he can analyze what was wrong with me. Do you understand what that is all about? I don't know what it's all about.
Absolutely. Hair testing is very, not very common, but is very time proven as a method of telling what kind of substances have been in the body over months and months and months of time. So yes, you can get a hair analysis. There are, I wouldn't say a lot of companies that do it, but there are companies that do it. You can, send away your own hair and get an analysis back, a very detailed analysis of the vitamins and the minerals that comprise your body.
It was kind of illustrated to me at the time. It's been very long ago. They could tell like my chemical imbalance and things like that through my hair samples.
Sure.
Well, your hair started off as living cells. The hair that's coming out of your head is dead, but it started off as living cells. And so those cells, having been exposed to your bloodstream, have a residual story to tell. And so they have used hair analysis for drug testing, for mineral testing, for all kinds of nutritional evaluations.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We're so happy that you're here on call number 405. Mr. Hope, can you believe it?
Yeah, we've been busy.
Yeah, Kangen Water Radio, we're still chugging along. So we're going to be here Saturday. Now, Mr. Hope, I don't think you heard this, but on Saturday, we are revisiting Warburg.
Oh, hot day.
This is not what I wanted to share. I want to share our invitation. Oh, there it is. So actually Saturday, I'm going to talk about Warburg and reverse Warburg. But in the meantime, we're so glad that you're here, and we hope that you will give us, contact us with any questions or comments that you have in between calls. And also, Juanita mentioned listening to the replay, and all the articles that I reference will be in the description of, in fact, I even think, yeah, I'll just keep it there. Technology lets you do so much, but not everything that you can do, you should do. But
everything
definitely,
is permissible.
I will give you the articles that I used to research this information, plus and more. And I will link to the PowerPoint as well, so you can see those images. All right, so we will be here Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Oh, I do want to request that when you go to YouTube and you listen to Kangen Water Radio, that's where the replays are. Give us some thumbs up, give us some love, give us some comments, subscribe. All of the things that will really help us. I don't know how, but I know it helps us. But I do know that we love hearing from you, and we want to also help you get all your questions answered. So, Mr. Hope, any final words, sir?
Drink Kangen water. It's the best water in the world. See you all next time, right here. Same back time.
Love you all.
Same back channel.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye-bye.
All the best. Cheers.